and Locke Tran, both KISD student geniuses who work for us here to help with the chat moderation and the whole operation of YouTube Live.
Hi, everyone.
We're super glad to have you guys with us today. So they're there to help you ask all your questions, and you can go ahead and start introducing yourself in the chat window if you have it. First, let's make sure that you can participate today. So I'm going to share my screen again. We're going to walk through a couple of slides. If you are coming to us for the first time for a YouTube Live today, you'll need something called a chat window to participate. So your screen might look something like this, and you might have a chat window on the right-hand side of the video. If you do, you're great. You're ready to go today. And again, go ahead and start introducing yourself. If you don't see that chat window, there are a couple of steps that we need you to perform so that you can participate with us today. So if your chat window looks something like this screen and it says create a channel to join the chat, go ahead and click your avatar in the top right-hand corner of your screen, then click your channel, then click create channel. At this point, YouTube's going to create a channel for you, and it's possible that you'll have to return to kellerisd.net/kickstart to get back to the YouTube Live. So I'll say those directions one more time to give you a few seconds to get that done. If you don't have the chat window, go ahead and click your avatar in the top right-hand corner. Click your channel in the list that drops down, and then click create channel. And again, it's possible once you perform those 3 steps that you'll have to return to the URL address. So don't forget, that's www.kellerisd.net/kickstart or KICStart. If you have any trouble, email us and let us know, and we'll try to do the best we can to walk you through those steps. I'm going to spend just a few seconds telling you about our expectations for participants in our Kickstart Your Learning events. If you're here for the EQ credit, good for you. We're happy to honor that. So the expectations we have for you is that if you'll please watch the entire live event, if you'll go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat window at the beginning of the event or whenever you get that chat window up and running, if you'll make at least one comment or ask at least one question during the live event, we would be so appreciative. We want this to be interactive if we can. And then at the end of our event, towards the very end of the 30 minutes, we'll give you a link to a Google form that will, once you fill out that Google form, it's about 5 questions. That's what we will use to award your EQ credit in the next few days. So again, if you'll watch the event, participate in the chat window, we'll give you a link to the form at the end. Also, if you didn't know it, this same web address stores our past Kickstart Your Learning events on our YouTube channel. So if you're ever wanting to rewatch one or see what we've done in the past, you can certainly do that by going to the same address you went to today. Okay, let's get started with our content. Google Sites is our topic today. It's Google's website building tool. It is a super intuitive tool that makes building a website as easy as editing a Google Doc. Raise your hand in the chat window if you love Google Docs. Give us a little fist bump, a thumbs up, whatever. You know Google Docs are so easy to navigate, to use in your classroom, and I promise Google Sites are going to be almost as easy as editing that Google Doc. And with the skills you already have, you're going to be able to create a great website. Why Google Sites? Just a few of the reasons on this slide. It's very sleek, it's got a great responsive design, easy to access, user intuitive, it's beautiful, lots of drag and drop features that make it very easy. It auto saves, and it can, for those of you who are high-techy users, it can embed, and you can write your own HTML code if you would want to. All right, Penny's joining me today from Parkwood Hill, and I asked her to join me because she built a Google site for her team not too long ago. Penny, will you share with us a little bit about how and why you got started with a Google site?
I started a Google site because I wanted an easy place for parents to go to just answer like those normal everyday questions they have. Like about homework or about websites that we use in class, just an easy access for a lot of different things. I even have included links to Keller ISD things that they might want to know. But and it's also because it's easy to update just whenever.
Super, thanks, Penny. All right, how do you get started with a Google site? Well, if you're familiar with Google products, and I know you guys are, there are multiple ways. Sites.google.com is where I typically start because that's the place that holds all of my Google sites. And then I start a new one with the plus button. But you can also start a Google site through Chrome in your Waffle or your apps launcher, and then choose Google Sites. Or you can start a Google site in your Google Drive in the folder where you want it to live. So if you're a super organized person, that's most likely where you're going to want to start your Google sites. I'm going to exit out of this slides presentation, and we're going to go to mysites.google.com. And you can see I have lots of sites here that I use for work. Some I use for teaching classes, but as you build sites, they'll begin to live right here on this page. And to get started today, I'm going to go to this colorful plus button in the bottom right-hand corner, and we're going to start a new one. Now, once you start a new site, you're going to have kind of just this standard looking sites page. And up at the top, we're going to talk about 3 naming features real quick before we start. The name that I have right here is the name that's the file name. So this is the file that holds all the information that's building my Google site. So it's not a name that someone's ever going to see. It's a name that I'm going to see in my filing system or in my Google Drive. This name right here that says site name, that's actually going to be the name of my Google site. So I might name it something like Mrs. Harold's class website, depending on what you want your website to be named or what it's about. It might be your class website, or you might be doing portfolios with your students. Your name would depend on what your purpose was. And then this name right here, or title, is actually going to be the title of your home page. So all of these could be the same name, but they don't have to be. So I've got my document name, my whole website name, and then I have the title of my home page right here. So I'm doing good so far. I've got 3 things named. Let's talk about making this prettier, or more specifically mine for my class. Over on the right-hand side is your main menu for Google Sites. You've got 3 main columns at the top, or tabs, that navigate to what you're going to do to build your site. I'm going to start right here in themes. And one great thing about Google Sites is it's simple. And not just because that's the title of the first theme. It's simple in that they don't give you tons of choices. They've done a lot of the design work for you. So if you're the kind of person that wants to build everything from scratch and you know a lot of HTML code, this might be a little frustrating. But if you're new to websites, this is a great place to start, because as I click through these different themes, I can see what Google's doing with the design, and I can choose one that I like for me. So I'm going to stick with this vision one for right now. And the other thing I can do while I'm in here picking my theme is I can pick a color. And this color that I'm choosing is going to mostly be an accent color for my website. I can see it up here in this top bar. But I could also choose any color I have the hex code for if I'd like to. I'm going to stick with that blue. And the last thing I get to pick on my theme is a font style. Usually Google is going to give you 3 fonts per theme that they offer. So not a lot of choice if you're a font lover, but you can make it work. And we can talk about how you can make your fonts into graphics as well if you want to pull in your own special fonts. So now I've got my home page, and I've even got a header image. I've got some theme. Let's talk about this image right here. Maybe I'm not interested in my class website having a pine cone and it looks a little wintry, and maybe I want it to look more like an elementary classroom. So I'm going to click on this change image button, and I can do 2 things here. I can upload an image, or I can select an image. Uploading would be picking something from my documents or my Google Drive, and then selecting would be selecting from what Google has for me to use in Google Sites. So this is always a fun one to use. I really like this one a lot, but there's several in there too. Not tons of choices, but lots of choices, enough choices for you to make your website yours. Again, other thing I can do is I can upload my own image. So maybe I love this little graphic and I want him to be in my class header. It's got him there. You can see, I don't know if you noticed that, but Google Sites did an adjustment for me with the picture. They felt like this font and the white color that it wasn't readable enough. So they adjusted the picture with almost an overlay. If I click that button, I'm taking the adjusted for readability back out. But if I click it again, I can put it back on. So always your choice, but Google's always trying to help you. All right, let's move on to, so as we begin looking at how-tos for sites, for Google Sites, tell me in the chat window why you wanted to know about Google Sites today. Maybe you're wanting to build a class website. Maybe you're wanting to store content in a site. Maybe you want to do portfolios, but what made you come to class today? What are you curious about with sites? Go ahead and start telling us that in the chat window. All right, I'm going to move from themes. I've done about most of what I can in themes. I'm going to move over to this insert button. And this insert button is where a lot of the building happens for Google Site, a lot of the magic. First, I'm going to start with a basic text box. So you saw that I clicked on that insert and text box and I get this text line. I'm just going to put some information in my site. And I've got some options up here. I can bold my text. I can use certain heading styles if I want to. You'll notice that when I do that, some of my options get taken away. Let's see if we can set all of this to heading. I can choose my justification. I can even link some of my text. So maybe I want Keller ISD to link to the website. Move a little window out of the way so I can see what I typed. There we go. I'm going to apply that link there, and now that's going to link to the Keller website. And this box is really large, but that's all the amount of text I want in it. I can do lots of things with these blue handles on my text boxes, and my images too. You'll find out as we add more to this page. But maybe I want to move that box to that size so that I can then drag and drop it where I want it to land on my page. That awesome drag and drop feature we talked about that makes building these sites super easy. All right, so now that we've got some text, let's talk about what else we can do with the background of this box. Over here on the left-hand side where this text lives, I have this little artboard, and I can do a couple of changes here that will either bring out that text more or just make it look a little bit different. You can see I'm just choosing different things that are changing the background of that box. Let me get off that. See if I can upload an image. I can even select an image to put behind that text. Probably not something you're going to do often, but maybe every once in a while for emphasis you would want to do that. And in case design is not your thing, which it's definitely not mine, I've also got over here these great layouts. And they can help me. So maybe I know I want my next piece of information to have 3 pictures and then some text editing. I can use those these layouts over here on the right just with a single click and they pop into my window. I'm going to delete that for now. Let's move on to inserting images. I'm just going to grab an image from a folder. I had several ready today. So I've uploaded our educational technology logo. And again, you see my blue handles. One thing that is tricky about Google Sites is resizing photos. My best advice is to go slow, excuse me. Sometimes as you start to resize, it begins to crop the image. So if you move pretty slow, it still did not exactly take all of the cropping out, but I can kind of adjust it there. It's not perfect, but if you're patient, and I think the more you practice with that tool, probably the better you get. Do you find that to be true, Penny?
Yes, definitely. Just practice.
Yeah, it's not super great at first, but kind of the more you play with it, the better it gets. I'm gonna crop that. And then you also have a little cropping tool here where if you're wanting to zoom in on something, you have the ability to do that as well. The great thing about images in Google Sites is, again, it's drag and drop. So maybe I want it to live right up here by this text box. I have the ability to drag it up there into that bar I had already created, maybe move that text box right next to it. So not super pretty, no judging today while we're showing you how-tos, but that is kind of the neat thing, or it's super easy so far to use this tool. So let's talk about something really fun. Let's move on to putting things into your web page from your Google Drive. So we're gonna do insert, and we're gonna scroll down here to Google Docs. And what's gonna happen here is I'm gonna get, Google's gonna pull from my Google Drive all the Google Docs that it can find, and I can insert them right into my web page. I'm gonna choose a different route today, just because I had some specifically ready. I've got a Google Doc here about the iPad app Shadow Puppet, and I'm just going to insert it onto my page. And it did a pretty good job of inserting it. If this is something I wanted my students to see every single bit of the page, I would need to take these handles and drag them down all the way so it would be the full size of the Google Doc. However, know that when you add a Google Doc or a Google Slides presentation or anything into your web page, your students will get, your viewers actually will get sliding bars, up and down, horizontal and vertical sliding bars, so that they'll be able to navigate through the whole document that you've put on your web page. They will also always see a pop-out button. So they'll be able to open whatever you've added to your page into a new tab. So I think that's pretty neat. I think one of the magic behind Google and the magic behind Google and adding Google products into a Google site is once I edit the Google Doc on the background, the edits are going to sync up with where I have it loaded into the site. So if I need to change something super quick for my students, it's always going to be the change is always going to be reflected on my Google site. Do you find that that's handy for you, Penny?
Yes, it's very easy to see the changes real quickly and also to view what it would look like before you publish it.
Oh, perfect. We're getting to that too. Yes. Another thing that I think is really neat, and I would have loved this when I was in the classroom full time, is I can take from your Google Drive, I can put in my Google site an entire Google folder. So I'm just going to take this entire folder I'm working with, the little snippets and snapshots that I'm using today, and I'm going to put it onto my Google site. And it's going to live right here as it's loading. And so what you can see right now is that entire Google folder is listed, the things that are in it are listed right here in my Google site. So if my students need something, it doesn't look like I can click on it now, but they would be able to click on it and get to that. So I think this would be super handy for a classroom teacher, even just your newsletters for parents, something that you publish often as a teacher can live right here on a page in your Google site.
The only thing I would do is make sure that you have the settings of whatever you're sharing for people who have the links, because if you don't, then it won't show up on the Google Sites. So double check whatever share settings you have in your Drive or for that particular document or what have you before you publish it.
Perfect. Definitely, if I were creating a Google site for a class or for parents, I would have like one folder where I'm going to drag everything in that I know it's going to always be shared with them. I would set the permissions of the folder to share so that it would automatically. But great advice, because that I'm sure happens super easily.
Yeah, I've learned.
Okay, so anything that you can get into your Google Drive can be uploaded to your site. So for example, I'm going to move my active bar down a little more, and we're going to look at a PDF. So let's say I have a PDF I want my students to work on, or I borrowed the KU Oops, that wasn't the PDF though. I actually used a number poster as a PDF just to show you that anything I can get into a Google Drive folder, I can put onto my Google site. So if there's other things you have, other documents, other types of documents, other PDFs that you want in your Google site, you can get those there as well. It's not just Google products. Okay, moving right along. And again, I told you this insert menu was the best. It's very robust. Let's talk about YouTube videos. Maybe you as a teacher have approved some YouTube videos for your students' content because you've watched them and you've approved them in the Keller ISD process, and you want your students to have access to them. You can search them by insert in YouTube, and you can select them, and they're going to pop onto your website page, and they're going to play right within that website page. You have a few settings you can control, but the important thing there would be to make sure that you've approved the video for KISD first before you add that to your site. And then one other really neat thing that I love is, let's say you've created or did a lot of work on a calendar that your students use. You can insert a Google Calendar. So one calendar that I think is super handy because I have high school kids of my own is the AB calendar. So if I want some type of calendar to live on a page in my Google Drive, or in my Google site, excuse me, then I can do that. And I have some options with that calendar as well. You'll notice that this one came in showing the agenda view, but I just went to the settings button and switched it to the monthly view. And now my students, if they're not sure if it's an A day or a B day, all they need to do is look at that website.
And again, double check your settings of the share settings for the calendar, because otherwise they can't see it.
Great advice, Penny. Thank you. Okay, let's talk about one other fun thing. Anybody familiar with Embed Codes or like Embed Codes? Give us a fist bump, I guess, or a thumbs up in the chat window if you do. If you have a digital learning item where you can get an embed code, and I'm getting an embed code from a set of flashcards off Quizlet, and I'm going to set this to just be the flashcards. I'm going to copy the HTML for that embed code. I'm going to take it right back over to my new Google site. I'm going to go up to insert and click embed at the top, and I'm going to paste that embed code. Oops, except you need to paste it in the right window. So be sure there's a URL window and an embed code window. Be sure you use the correct one. I'm going to click next. And I'm going to click insert, and then those flashcards will live right there on my website. My students can click through them, they can study them. That type of thing.
I just learned something. I love that.
Oh,
I use the Quizlet, but I have the link to Quizlet, but I like the embed version better.
Yeah, the embed version is pretty neat. But I mean, as a teacher, can you imagine putting your Google Slides presentations that you've done in class for your students learning for them to look at after hours, that type of thing? You can get any information to them in one place, which is super neat. All right, so that was a lot of the basics pretty fast, but Penny, share with us a little bit about how you built your classroom Google site.
Okay, I just started messing around with it. I didn't do too much. I just started trying different things. Do you want me to share my?
Yeah, let me stop sharing.
Okay.
And you go ahead and start sharing.
Okay, so let me get to it. Okay, so my website looks like this, and I think there we go. Is it showing?
Yeah,
right.
Perfect.
So I just started messing around and did some different things. We have a home page that has our schedule for the day, so it's always there, especially in 5th grade. Parents want to know when lunch is and stuff. They always want to know that. And then some other helpful links just for Keller ISD, because the parents don't always, go to the Keller ISD website. So this just is another way for them to find the information.
I love that.
Adding, so this is a lot of just these are buttons that I added in, and that's one of the options that you can do. And then some of our essential stuff that we have for our campus and basic information from our curriculum night on here. And then every one of us, you can see we have different tabs at the top. Every one of us has our own page. So I just update my page. Each one of the teachers on our team has a calendar My math teacher, she puts the assignments on the calendar that they're doing that week. Sorry, scrolling a little too fast. But
Yep,
she
you're
has
doing
the
fine.
assignments. So the parents don't know what the assignment is, or the kids say, I don't have homework, it's there for them.
Love it.
And then just updating. I update mine frequently because I use it like a newsletter. So I just say what we're doing for the couple weeks and then have some other links. I have embedded the vocabulary on there that we use a lot of science vocabulary. So I have the slideshow. I try to keep that as updated as possible. So if they were absent or something, it's there, they can get it. So, but it's really easy. We also have some information about the teachers on here and some basic about our team, our expectations, and just, you know, you just mess around with it and you can figure out quite a bit. And some of this, even like on our About the Teachers page, I have links that go back to other pages, like that will take you back to the science and social studies. You don't have to do the tab. You just start
Cool.
playing around. You can figure out quite a bit.
That's so neat. You guys have invested some time in it, although it wasn't hard, I don't think.
No.
But what a great resource for your students and your parents.
Definitely. Parents love it because they like, even at Christmas time, what are your favorites? It's on the website. You know.
Hey.
Yes. Everything's there. So if they don't know, it's there. And there's some stagnant information that stays there the whole year. So they're like, well, it's always there available. We just resend out the link every now and then. I send it out anytime I update my page. I send out the link again.
I would imagine it would be something you could have in your signature even, just so that your parents always have it.
Yes.
Always an email from you. Okay, if you'll stop sharing your screen, Penny, I'm going to show our audience 2 more things and then we're going to wrap up. All right, I'm going to start sharing my screen again. The last few things I'm going to show you are about, well, how do I know what this looks like? You have some amazing buttons up here at the top above your 3 tabs of kind of building. This one that looks like a laptop with a phone set kind of right on top of it is your preview button. When you click it, you're going to get a preview of what your awesome website looks like. This one is so well put together. One thing I want you to notice is you have a black bar. You should have a black bar. Let me see if I can move my Zoom bar is kind of in the way. There we go. And in my black bar, I can see what my website is going to look like on basically a laptop screen or a desktop screen, what it's going to look like on a mobile device or a tablet, and then what it's going to look like on a mobile device. So if I'm curious about how my readers or viewers are going to see it, I have those options to see what it looks like. It would look like published. Then of course there might be a reason to have a 1-page website, but most likely you're building it for multiple pieces of information. So you're going to need some more pages. In the middle, our second tab is the Pages tab. And I bet if you're watching, you've already figured out, I just go down to my plus button at the bottom and I click plus to add a page. And then as I add those pages, they will populate in my navigation bar across the top. Over here, I've got this little settings gear on the left that will allow me to change my navigation to a side navigation, but by default, Google Sites will build your navigation across the top. And I'm going to skip back up to this top bar of buttons because that's where we finish. I like Penny, she's got some collaborators on hers. And so she can add collaborators for building right there. And then when she's ready to publish, she clicks that publish button. She has some say in what her website will be. And then she has some say in who could see it. And so those settings you can kind of look through, or we're happy to help you with. But once you click publish, if you've set it to go public, that website will go public. Okay, Sarah is telling me we are out of time. I'm so sorry if I took so long. I want to post our link for the last few seconds. If you did not get it, we will get it in the live chat, even if the stream goes down. So our link for the EQ credit form is bit.ly/KICStart live. If you've ever used a bit.ly before, you know that it's case sensitive. So the KICS and LIVE must be capitalized. So if you are here for the EQ credit, be sure you jot that down somewhere, take a picture with your cell phone. It's bit.ly/KICStart live. Fill that form out for us in the next 24 hours and we will get your credit granted. One slide that I skipped over was Google has great step-by-step guidance for building a website. So if you just Google, literally, if you Google Sites Guidance or Google Sites Guide, they will walk you through step-by-step in building a great website. Penny, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I appreciate your expertise and thank you for asking about sites a year and a half ago or whenever you did, so that it kind of got me interested in it. Chat moderators, thank you for being with us today and helping us out. Keller ISD, thank you for being present today and training. We hope you have a great evening and we hope you learned something fun about Google Sites.